and upgraded products. Freemium, where you get this for free, maybe you can get an audio version of it for more money, that sort of thing. And then just quoting here Chris Anderson's the History of Free. He's the editor of Wired, who wrote the book on the long tail. His newest book is on free and all the various implications in the history of free. And unfortunately, the book is not free, but you can Google and get the Wired article for free, and it overviews what he talks about in this rather interesting book. Open Scholars also create open access books, and Fritz, our president, is going to be talking about Athabasca University Press on his presentation on Wednesday. But these are three texts that you may be interested in. Muhammad Ali's mobile learning book. This is a brand new one, just out a couple of months ago, a designer's log. Anybody who's interested in instructional design will find Michael Power's book very interesting, because he talks about case studies of how he worked with various academics and the kind of techniques and the fears that they had. And he does a systematic look at this sort of a multiple case study, quite an interesting book. This is the book I edited, the second edition of The Theory and Practice of Online Learning. And I see George is with us today. Welcome, George. His book is in press, Upcoming Emergency Technologies in Distance Education, and that will be available probably 5 or 6 months from now. But you can buy all of these books, or you can download any of them totally free. So I'm going to just take a look at the text box and let anybody grab it while I'm reading and see if there's some comments or questions.
Rick, you can go ahead and click on the mic.
Sorry, I just had to get my own microphone in position here. Hey, Terry, one of the things, by the way, just to put a little plug in for CNIE and other journals that we're involved with, I did put up a little note about Journal of Distance Education and Canadian Journal of Learning and Technology, which are also open access now and both online solely. One of the things that sort of struck me lately, I was a little annoyed with AECT for going away from self-publishing and down the commercial publishing road. And I just, in doing some more recent reading, noticed that the big granddaddy of educational associations, AERA, has now gone with Sage Online. And I was wondering if you have any thoughts about the American approach to research and publishing, and I don't know, I don't know if there's any of our American colleagues online or not, but it almost seems like a free enterprise religion involved here as well. Any thoughts about where the U.S. has gone in terms of open access? And I guess I would also throw some parts of Europe in there, having noticed a recent book on mobile learning coming out that also is something like $100 Canadian to buy. Over.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to be caught disparaging the Americans nor their religion, but I guess there is it's very disruptive, open access. It sort of really challenges the major economic model. And the publishers, I've read that the highest profit center they have from textbooks, commercial books, trade books, it is in fact their scholarly publications. So it has been a very lucrative practice. And as we've seen in the American debate on healthcare, they have a tremendous lobby for profitable enterprises. But speaking of Europe, I think that some of the most important work on open access press and open access work has come from the UK, and now the Directory of Open Access Journals is headquartered in Sweden. So, and to be fair to the Americans, there's many open access presses, the Journal of Asynchronous Learning Networks in our area, First Monday. So there's lots of good ones as well. So I wouldn't sort of disparage any one country. I think it's disruptive and it's increasing, but there will be a continuing discussion. And it would be interesting to bring this up again with Fritz on Wednesday when he talks about the broader publishing method of open access. Thank you. Open scholars comment openly on the works of others. bookmarking, you really do add value when you take the time to fill in, even in a proprietary system like Amazon, to put your comments about a book, to do it on services like Cite You Like, or Brainify, which is out of Murray Goldberg's product, who the fellow who invented WebCT is the latest product, is a kind of a social networking for students called Brainify. You might find it of interest. Diigo is the one I use for bookmarking and finding other people who have bookmarked other relevant sites. Because once you find a treasure, if you bookmark it, or especially if you add comments to it or tag it, then that makes that site more accessible to other people. And again, information overload permeates us. We have to find ways to filter for each other, and these tools are great for it. This is VLE's virtual learning environments, or LMSs as they're known in North America, and I should have written the word annotations rather than additions. And Marginalia is an open access tool that here it's working in conjunction with Moodle, and you can see how people can highlight things that other students write, and they can add comments to them, so that we're generating new knowledge. It's especially useful for students because I think we have to train people. People don't naturally come upon other people's works and add their own value. We're more passive consumers. We have to learn to, to be upfront and to add value, to put ourselves out there, and in the process gain social capital for ourselves. But it can be quite scary. Open Scholars build networks. These are mostly Canadian examples, but there are them all around the world. CNIE, as Rick just mentioned. ALTSI from the UK, a wonderful conference that I attended last fall. Scope, sponsored by BC Campus. They've been doing online conferences for years. They've got a whole wealth of recorded comments, papers, discussions that they've sponsored, given away free to the world. Distance Learning, the Social Network, CIDR, there's all kinds of them. Some of them lack critical mass. I'll mention CIDR in that grasp. I mean, the CIDR sessions are good, but a lot of the activities we have done have not gathered critical mass. So they need us to work together and sort of throw some energy at some of our networks that we have around. Open Scholars lobby for copyright reform. I'm sure Rory will talk about this on Friday. In fact, you can punch in his name in the Calgary Herald. He's got an editorial in the Herald just this morning in conjunction with Open Access, talking about open textbooks. And this example from the Swiss copyright fighting group. With the perfect copy protection, it just destroys itself after one plane, and therefore forcing people to keep buying rather than using and adding value to things. Open Scholars support fair dealing. This is a fair use, fair dealing. Most copyright legislation in different countries has different terms for this, but I think it's important that we realize that we don't become our own copyright police. One of the challenges that I think Athabasca has is we hire people to be copyright enforcers, and they become, more Catholic than the Pope, and they wonder who they are working for. Are they working for the institution, or are they working for or are they working for the institution? Are they working for the publishers? So remember, and exercise fair dealing. It's the right that you have within limits. In other words, you can't take a whole text and copy it, but you certainly can take a chapter of it to reproduce a substantial amount of a copyrighted work without permission from or payment to the copyright owner. Its purpose is to facilitate creativity and free expression by ensuring reasonable access to existing knowledge while at the same time protecting the interests of copyright owners. There's a huge debate, especially when it comes to education and research, and you probably are familiar, at least in Canada, we're undergoing negotiations right now. In fact, the official consultation is over, but if you're still interested, you can write to your MP or to the Minister and put in your own comment. But this was from the Canadian Association of University Teachers, a proposal from 2008. And I think we have to support fair dealing, understand it, and show how it can be useful for us and for people around the world. Thank you, Tony, for listing the link to Rory's article there. And it's very coincidental, open textbooks. That's exactly what Rory's talking about. Here's some examples of sites, the California Open Source Textbook Project.